Hey everyone, Rich Bennett here. I'm excited to tell you about something we're doing for National Recovery Month. Here at Conversations with Rich Bennett, we're holding a special event called the Podathon for Recovery, 12 Days of Hope. For 12 consecutive days, we'll release a new episode dedicated to powerful conversations about addiction, recovery, and hope. And we're doing this to raise vital funds for an incredible nonprofit, Rage Against Addiction. They are on the front lines providing sober living homes, recovery coaching, and essential support to families. We believe recovery is a journey worth celebrating, and your support can make a tangible difference. Every donation, no matter the size, goes directly to them, helping to save lives and provide a second chance. So please join our mission. You can start donating right now. Simply go to conversationswithrichbennett.com and you'll see the donation thing right there so you can donate and help these women in recovery. Welcome to a special episode of Conversations with Rich Bennett. This is a part of our Podathon for Recovery, 12 Days of Hope, our mission to raise money for Rage Against Addiction. My co-host Wendy Beck and I will be sharing powerful stories of addiction, recovery, and resilience to help break the stigma and show that hope is always possible. Your support helps Rage Against Addiction provide life-changing resources, and you can donate right now by visiting our GoFundMe link in the show notes. We are so grateful you've joined us on this important journey. Now let's get into today's conversation.
As you know, we are really diving in with the personal stories of recovery for this month because we want to share this with our community and beyond so we can, A, get some donations, and B, show the success stories that actually happen when people apply themselves and they apply their program and the support that they get from the community. Can you start with sharing a little bit about, that with us?
Yeah, so I currently work in the behavioral health field, and I have worked in the behavioral health field since 2014, so a little bit now. And it's been an interesting journey just because and I'll talk to this about my story. I started off at a very entry level position, and I'm currently in business development for a large nonprofit that allows me the ability to have flexibility, and I've kind of worked my way to that position, and I really enjoy working with providers and serving the community in that way. And then I also spent a lot of time locally giving back to local nonprofits, giving back to organizations, raising money for them, supporting by showing up and volunteering, and just a lot of nonprofits. I found a family with a lot of the organizations. The only reason I am sober today is because nonprofits that help support me to get sober. And so I really believe in giving back in any way I can. I just got done showing up for an event where my son was involved. My son has his mom because of the organizations in Harford County.
So how long have you been sober?
I've been sober since 2013. So what is that? I'm terrible. I think it's coming up on 12 years. So November 23rd, 2013.
So almost 12 years.
Yeah, I hope that's right.
Congratulations. Yeah, right. I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to look my whole tracker.
So where did this journey start? I mean, from where you probably were not recognizable to the woman that you are now when this started. Because how old were you?
I was 22. I turned 23 in treatment.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, which is really funny to me to think about. And I was not recognizable. I was in Cecil County, and I moved up there in middle school. I'm from Prince George's County originally, so close to the city, right outside of DC. And both my mom and my dad drank and used drugs, but there was this huge conception when I was younger of you work hard, but you can play hard too. And from the outside looking in, things look normal. I think that I really learned how to disguise like substance use, but substance use runs rampant throughout my family. And there was always, um, my dad was a tradesman. He worked in the elevator trade. He made really good money. My mom stayed home. We had like lavish vacations, and there was other family outside of my immediate family that were caught up in the grips of addiction that was much worse.
Right.
And I remember thinking that like they were different from my family. Even though there was like a lot of substance use that I wasn't really aware of when I was younger, but there was a lot of like toxicity, a lot of fighting. Um, my dad and my brother would fight. My mom and my dad would fight, and then that would also spill over to like favoritism. My brother is my half brother, so he a lot of times would take out his aggression on me. He got kicked out of. he would take out he got kicked out of school, public school, and middle school for selling weed that he stole from my parents. And then there was just like a bunch of things going on in that area at that time, like the DC sniper and 9/11. And so my parents made this decision for the family to like remove us from that area because they wanted to like shield us from that. They didn't want, I think that there was a lot of bad in my home, but there also my parents tried to protect us in any way they could. Like I never fault my family for like anything that kind of was happening, but there was definitely a lot of drug use and a lot of abuse, whether not so much physical from my parents, but definitely physical from my older brother. And then between the two of my mom and my dad, there was like a lot of physical abuse and then like verbal abuse and a lot of drinking and just a lot like we would be out at a you know event or out at a restaurant or on a vacation or out with friends that my parents, we were really close with their friends, which then we were really close with their kids. And like it'd be totally normal for my family to like break out in a fight because they were like under the influence, something would happen. And I was just so used to it that.
You mean fighting with each other?
Yeah, fighting with each other. And I think I was just so
Creating a
used.
scene.
Yeah, I was so used to it that I wasn't like affected. And I remember the first time where like someone drew attention to that, like that wasn't normal.
Right.
One of my cousins were like, I heard that your dad does cocaine from my dad. Like I heard, yeah. And like I just remember like the first time like somebody made it aware to me that like maybe that's not like how families operate or like, breaking out in a fight at a like a vacation, family vacation isn't like normal thing to do.
Right. That was your normal. That was your
yeah,
normal.
it was my normal. And so like I didn't question it. It was my normal. And I again, like I don't fault my family, but like just giving you a picture of like what it looked like in my world at that age,
Right.
in elementary school. And then also I was in a French immersion program, which seems not relevant, but it was really relevant when I moved. So I was in a French immersion program. So in kindergarten, I was fluent, like learning fluent French.
Really?
So my school was French from kindergarten to sixth grade.
Wow.
My teachers were from Africa, from French colonies, and it was expected that I learned French in school up until third grade, and then in third grade I started getting an hour of English. So I learned like my subjects, my math, science, everything in French, and then an hour a day was like my language for English from third grade to sixth grade. So when my family decided to move,
Culture shock.
it was culture shock.
Yes.
So
Yes.
and I struggled. I struggled in school, and I don't know if that I was diagnosed really young with ADHD. I think that I was a child that a lot of times like lived in a fantasy world. And
I think that is an ADHD kind of scenario.
yeah, and
too.
I've thought about it a lot, like now that I've been sober, like I think that just naturally, like I'm just that kind of person, and I've related to some people that are like that, and then I've also talked to some people that are like completely different from me, but I was the youngest. I was very, I wanted to appear and a lot of times was very childish. I wanted to keep like my innocence, like for my family. I like pretended like Santa Claus was real for a really long time, even after I knew that it wasn't real. And I think because of whatever dynamic was going on, Santa Claus, yes, Rich, you play Santa Claus.
He's
Um,
real.
What?
He's real.
What?
yeah. So anyway, but he is real. But yeah, for like a long time, I just was very like innocent and I was goofy and I didn't get my like attention from doing well in school. I got my attention from like doing well in sports and being goofy and like the class clown. And I spent my summers a lot with tutors. So I had this poor relationship with school already. So I just want to put that out there. Yeah.
So when did the drug use start for you?
So I moved to Cecil County and immediately I think before the drug use this is where I pinpoint like kind of my escape from life was when I moved to Cecil County. My parents bought a farm, which I really much loved, and that was like a positive thing of that situation. But immediately all the kids up there looked different than what I was used to. They were wearing so I moved to Rising Sun from Bladensburg.
That is real.
Culturally, it was culture shock. I was in 7th grade. I was younger for my grade. I went into school. I was supposed to graduate at 17.
Wow.
So I was younger than my class. Um, I was wearing like what my brother dressed me in, which was at the time Air Force Ones, Nike swooshy pants, and everybody was wearing Hollister and
Just different.
people were just different.
Right.
So my solution to that and like where I first pinpoint like wanting to escape was I just didn't go to school. And in Cecil County, if you miss more than 5 days in the year or the marking period, you fail. You fail the entire semester. So that happened. I failed my first year
What
in
grade was this?
7th grade.
7th grade.
My mom was around, I guess. My dad was traveling to DC to work and a lot of times would spend the night at my grandmother's house down there. My parents obviously had an already tumultuous relationship. My mom was drinking, going out to bars, I think at this time. I don't really know where she was at that moment, but I know that I didn't have a lot of consequences. And I think that started a pattern for me is that wanted to escape immediately and I didn't have a lot of consequences for my actions. And my mom was actually pretty happy that I was failing because she wanted to hold me back and I fought it the first year. So like that was like kind of like she was happy for that because she felt like I needed to be in a grade where my age was more appropriate. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, a year can be a big deal at that age.
Yeah, it can be. And like,
But I don't know if I would be happy about.
I don't know if she was like happy about it, but I think that like
It was like, okay, well then
She probably thought it may have been best for you because you're in a new area so you left all your friends.
Yeah.
You're in a new area with kids that are older than you in the same place. Yeah, I can.
And I don't really know. Like, I remember getting picked on by some girl that was like in my class that year that was like had failed multiple years. So she was like way older. And like being so just uncomfortable and like not being able to like really do math that well because I didn't even know like English that well. So immediately I was like, I'm terrible at school. I'm not a good writer. I'm not a good speller. Um, I'm not great at math. I hate school. I hate school and I hate those kids that are there because I feel different and I just don't want to be there. And then my drug use started literally the next year in that summer.
In 8th grade?
7th to 8th grade. Yeah. So
it's just so young.
Yeah.
Did you fail that whole grade?
Failed that whole grade and had to repeat 7th grade.
So when you weren't going to school, like nobody noticed, nobody was around to.
Not really. I remember like, I mean, we had horses on the farm. So like, I just remember being really like safe there and like happy there. Wow, there's some emotions coming up and I don't know why. It's like a counseling session. I remember like just being really internal and like being very dramatic. My mom will still call me dramatic and it like sets me off. But like I remember like journaling by a creek and just feeling very safe there. I like really like nature. It's really funny because I go into the nature now as like a form of self-care. Yeah, being around the horses. And I made some friends. I made a couple friends, and one of them had an older sister, my older brother. And they were smoking weed around us. Like they were smoking weed, not like consistently, but I remember like, just being around. And I think we were in a park one time. We were in a park one time. We fixed that with like my friend's older sister and her friends. And I smoked weed and like nothing happened. Right. I was just like, okay,
This ain't nothing.
this isn't nothing.
Yeah.
And then I think another time my brother forced me and my friend to smoke weed when we were at the house. And I started running up and down, being like dramatic and like laughing. And he got mad and like punched me in my like head, and my chin hit the
Jeez.
banister. There, there is significant amount of abuse like with my brother, and I feel like it's interesting because my mom will still downplay that type of behavior. Um,
Is he in your life now?
no,
Okay.
so I guess more to come with that. Yeah. So, yeah, my dad wasn't around. My mom was at bars hanging out with guys, if I'm being honest, and I was kind of left to my own devices. I think I wanted to do well. I've always wanted to like do the right thing. I've always been naturally just like that kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I started to do like okay in school where I got back and like went on to like ninth grade, and like the summer from eighth grade to ninth grade, I started to like seek male validation and started to like hang out with boys. That then like opened up the door for like hanging out with people that were drinking on the weekends. And I think once I hit ninth grade, like I was dating older guys, um, already becoming sexually active. Um, I think those types of I wasn't getting attention at home. I was watching my mom get attention from men, and that became very much ingrained. And I also my dad wasn't around, and when my parents finally got a divorce, which I'll go into detail about that because it was just so monumental in my life. Once that happened, like I got my needs met by men. And it's very much coincides with like my use and me getting worse throughout my addiction, but like also at the same time, like without men, I would still be where I am.
Right.
So I want to make that very clear. um,
Okay.
but it exposed me a lot faster, I think. um, so yeah, in high school, I think I came in wanting to do the right thing. I started playing sports. I was in cheerleading and soccer when I was younger and figure skating. And I chose cheerleading and soccer in the same season. I chose cheerleading. First year was on the cheer team. I think nothing really monumental happened there. Like I was just in school, starting to hang out with boys. It was exciting. It was exciting.
You were doing the
And
teenage thing.
yeah, and I failed like some of my classes the last semester of my freshman year. Um, and I got kicked off of the team the next year
Ooh.
coming in. And I think at that point, like I'm very much somebody who, when I was younger, I wouldn't say I'm like this anymore, but I would say that very much so. If it didn't go my way, I said fuck it. And
Yeah.
I went the complete opposite way. If a door closed, like I didn't care. I was going to pretend like I didn't care, and I was going to go and do whatever made me happy. And at that time, it was like drinking and rebelling and boys. And um, so in 10th grade, I was dating this guy that was a senior at a different school, and we were really close with my other friend and her boyfriend. And what that looked like was bonfires and trucks and a cabin. This is crazy. Don't let your kids drink at your house.
Don't do that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So I used to go to this cabin this old man owned that his sons were a little bit like older and probably high school at this point, and it was ridiculous. There was older people there, younger people there, and tequila and moonshine, and we could take jeeps and take them out in the back of the house and
It was like a
just
party house.
mudding. Yeah, it was a huge,
Wow.
and
And
just like,
everybody went and
and everybody went, and like, yeah, and I got exposed to that really young, and I was just partying everywhere. Yeah, just partying everywhere. I wouldn't say like I was hooked at that point. There was definitely a point in my life where I felt like I was really hooked. I feel like when it came to my drinking, for the most part, I controlled myself, but there was every once in a while where there was something emotionally going on, and I would go into and start drinking
Yeah.
and immediately black out. And I think blacking out for me started really young. And again, there was no consequences. So like the first time I think I know I blacked out, that I remember I probably had alcohol poisoning, was St. Patrick's Day. I was
Shit.
probably like 15 or 16. Um,
Damn.
Let me back up because I got to tell you about before that happens. But around 10th grade, ninth grade, 10th grade, my mom was like cheating on my dad. I was witness to this. My dad was not home. He was usually staying at my grandmother's house. My parents, we know that my parents' relationship was tumultuous. Um, my dad came home to my mom, like cheating on him, and I was sitting on the couch with his friend, just like watching TV.
the man she was with's friend.
Yeah, just watching TV. My mom's like idea of a good time at that time with me was taking me out to bars, like, and singing karaoke, playing shuffleboard. I was like, that's how I spent my time with my mom
Wow.
at that time. At like 14, 15, was watching my mom use men essentially to get cars, to get just like support in any way. And yeah, my dad came home one night from work and my mom was upstairs. He asked me where she is. He runs upstairs. There's like there's a upstairs, there's a staircase that goes in from the back, and then there's another staircase that goes in the bottom. He runs out the back door. My dad's so pissed. He's running and leaving back to his car, and I'm calling his name, and he doesn't stop. And at that age, I'm gonna cry. That was like really a lot for me. I internalized that as not only that he was leaving my mom, he was leaving me, and that started a nasty divorce. Sorry.
This one?
Started a really nasty divorce that I was drugged in. And at that time, my brother had already like moved out. My brother, my mom, and my parents' relationship between my brother was so far gone. His dad was not really around, had multiple kids with another woman, was really into drugs. My mom and him had a previous marriage that she had left and then met my dad when he was 3. And at 16, I remember them fighting. My brother was like throwing things at my mom, like, and finally he just moved out. I think he just moved out. He got tired of it and just moved out at like 16 years old. And my mom never didn't see him for a long time after that. So he wasn't there. I'm experiencing this alone. It's me and my mom in this big house they can't afford. Um, Sometimes like at this time we're wondering whether or not we're gonna like
where are we gonna
where we're gonna get live. I made friends at this point, so I don't want to go back to like Prince George's County. So I make the decision and we move into a 1-bedroom apartment with this guy and his roommate in a 1-bedroom.
And you and your mom?
Me and my mom, and then also my cousin moved in because he was living with my
5 of you?
Yeah.
In a 1-room apartment?
In a 1-bedroom apartment.
Wow.
What were you thinking? Like what okay, let's just like, you're telling the story, but like I know that this felt normal, but now you're not in a
I don't know if that moment felt
that
normal.
would not feel normal. So
I
like
think then
to me that would be really scary.
I don't know if I was scared. I don't know what I was thinking at that moment. I know that I was hurt by my dad, even though I knew it wasn't his fault. I feel like I take on a lot of things and I want to fix a lot of things. Like I remember like when my parents would fight when I was really young, like just trying to fix things and like make it stop. And I think at that point, like I don't maybe like numb because
Probably.
like my solution at that point was I was like that's when I really started drinking really heavy and I started like not being able to like control my drinking in the sense where like I was emotionally like just I had so much emotions I didn't know how to like address them. and I would just drink and I would black out like out of nowhere, and I'd be like, oh man, I can't do that again.
And I mean, just alcohol was just accessible.
Because I mean, I had that party house. I had an older boyfriend who had a truck, like, and that's very much where my feelings were so overwhelming that men became like my out. Like, I didn't want to be at my house. I didn't want to be around like that. So if my boyfriend had a car, and I don't think I was thinking like, oh, I need a guy with a car,
Right.
with
It just
money.
happened. Right.
It just like I found these guys that were interested in me. Lord knows why. I'm sure their family knew like I'm a sweet girl, but I was going through a whole bunch. Like every single boyfriend I've ever had, their family were just amazing to me and just like welcomed me and like wanted to like
Help.
anything I needed.
Aww.
Bought my prom dresses, like that weren't even mine. They're like their son's prom because I never made it to prom, but paid for my hair to get done, like took me on vacations. Like my life got flipped upside down at that point. Like before we were going on Disney trips and we were going to Bahamas and Mexico. And at that point, like my parents auctioned off their farm. We had this nasty divorce. My brother wasn't around. We were in a 1-bedroom apartment because my cousin had to be taken in for my mom because his mom, her sister, was also unstable and was living with my grandmother, and he put his hand on my grandmother. So like just craziness around me, and I'm just running. And I think that's why I really always bring up the fact that my first year in middle school that I ran, because after that point, anytime things got hard, I just ran and I said, screw it. I can't. And I like want to, I want to get outside of myself. And I don't think I was emotionally mature enough to like address feelings.
Definitely not.
Because I didn't have like emotionally mature parents.
Right.
To begin
you never
with.
had any examples.
I wasn't emotionally mature probably until well into my sobriety, like, and still questioned myself on a regular basis. Because like, I didn't have good examples. Who knows if they had good examples?
Right.
There was gambling on my dad's side, and then my mom's dad is military. They were in the Philippines, moved around, like, who knows, like, really. And also talking about emotions, being emotionally mature is also a new age thing and a privilege that we have today.
Exactly. You're right about that.
No
one cared. No one cared what was happening to you.
Yeah.
You were doing,
I think they cared. They didn't know what to do with themselves.
They were to care. They didn't know how to care about themselves.
My mom lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with 2 men and 2 kids, like, and no job, and she hadn't been worked her entire life.
She was,
like,
in some
she was in
ways,
survival mode.
Surviving. Yeah.
Yeah. My mom like went to college for like art and did some like fitness training when she was younger, and met my dad from selling coke before I was around, and then like she got a real estate license to sell their old house and moved to Cecil County, and that was about it.
Right.
She was in survival mode. And my dad like, paid child support, and like if I ever need anything I could call him,
but he didn't really know what was going on.
He didn't know what was going on. He was an hour and a half away, and like, I mean, if I needed something, I'd call him and he would do it. My dad, but he never remarried. He struggled like with substance use, but like always showed up. Like, I'll talk more about my dad, but he had his own stuff, but he was the best dad ever. Like, I know he was there for me. I know he loved me.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, he was hurting too, and he
was hurting.
He wasn't leaving you. He was running from the situation.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
he didn't have the emotional like
capacity to bring you with him. I mean, men didn't do that back then.
And he would have loved to have me come live with him, but I like made that decision. Like, I made a decision because I had friends there.
Right.
At that point. And I didn't want to like uproot my world again. And I chose to stay.
Well, and I think most teenagers would choose to stay where their friends are because their friends become their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fast forward to St. Patrick's Day, my first like blackout that I can remember at least.
How old were you this time?
Like 14, 15. This is probably like not far after we were in that 1-bedroom apartment. I start like drinking with this other boy who's also just had the a really hard time, so just two troubled teens at the time, which we didn't know
Bunnying
until
up,
later on.
Right, exactly.
And yeah, we started like chasing each other on like shots. I think, I don't know. I guess it's Jameson. Yeah, it was like St. Patrick's Day.
Whiskey, yep.
Yep. And I think I drank like 6 shots in a row of Jameson at like age 14, 15. And then like also we're drinking beer and like other things. So
Jesus.
immediately I brown out and I like shut down the entire party by throwing a huge ass fit, like trying to fight another boy coming into the door that like I had talked to for a little bit. I'm at my boyfriend's house. I like grab his shirt as he's entering my house, like drop to my knees, drop to my face. And I just remember being in and out of this whole thing. And I remember my friend hiding. I'm screaming. And this is all learned behavior. Like
Right.
I watched my family act
Do
like
this.
this.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't have any control of my emotions or anything that's going on at that moment because I'm literally in a brownout. I didn't know what that was until later on in life.
What is
I'm not in a
that?
blackout.
What is a brownout?
I'm in a brownout where like I remember some of it, but not all of it.
Almost like tunnel vision.
Yeah, I throw my phone into the woods. I remember that moment. This happened, I think, for an hour or more. I remember getting slammed onto the ground by my boyfriend at the time and like held down because I think I was attacking him.
It's like you're not unconscious,
I'm not like
but your mind's not completely
Right.
there either.
Yes.
Whereas a
I
blackout.
have memories, but not all of them.
Right.
And then at some point, I get transported to like my boyfriend's mom's house. I get put into a guest bed because this guy that I'm with is a really good guy, to be honest. And I try to get up to go get sick. Don't remember any of this. Pass out, hit my head, and wake up the entire house. And then I'm in the bed, the guest bed, with the fan running. And his mom's like asked me questions. His stepdad's asked me questions, and they're like, "Did you drive?" And I'm like, my poor boyfriend's like trying to lie, like, "No, I didn't drive." And I'm like, "Yes, you did." I get drove home in the front seat with a bucket in between my legs, and my mom's solution, my consequences were to sleep it out. And I think again, like I don't have consequences for my actions. I mean, where's she going to ground me to?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't have a bedroom there. We're in a 1-bedroom apartment with 2 men.
You slept on the couch?
Slept on the couch. Yeah.
So what's our turning point here? Because obviously,
Sorry.
oh, you're fine. I'm just curious because
You're learning a lot.
No, I feel like it's the bad part's not over.
Oh, it's definitely not over. I mean, I drink and smoke weed. I don't get exposed to opiates until a little bit older. Like I'm not like somebody who used opiates in high school, and I know a lot of kids that did.
Yeah.
I was around it. I was very naive. Like for some reason, even exposed to a lot of things, I have this like naiveness about me throughout my entire life. And the turning point where I start using heavy drugs, is that where you?
Sure.
Because I continue my life like that in high school and dating different men, and my quality of relationships get lower and lower, and I'm exposed to abuse because naturally, like, I am statistic. I'm a statistic when it comes to like, yeah.
Yes.
I create that. I manifest that. But
and you're so young too for that. You know what I'm saying? Because
I didn't know like what like an abusive relationship or a healthy relationship looked like.
Right.
I
You saw your parents going through it.
Yeah, like that was normal, not necessarily like what a healthy relationship looks like.
Right.
No one talked to me about. No one talked about sex.
right, no one even said.
No one talked to me
"Hey,
about.
you're kind of picking the wrong guys. Like no one cared. No one apparently cared.
Yeah, my mom's boyfriend that she cheated on my dad with, that she later we got a house in Port Deposit. So that is something that changed. We got a house, and that we rented in Port Deposit, and so I started going to Perryville at that point. I failed 10th grade 3 times from not going to school and just skipping and
wow,
just smoking weed and drinking. And my mom tries to reel in the reins at some point, and I bulk because at that point I had no supervision, and it was not going to happen at like 16, 17, 18. And then I eventually was dating this guy. I was close to like 18, and I think my brother had come back at some point when we were living there. the guy that my mom was dating was the same age as my brother. So my brother's 4 years older than me. He was around that age. So that was another part of it.
Wow.
And I also never, ever forgave my mom for that throughout this whole thing. And I could not be around that man in the same room. I would scream in his face.
The brother. Your brother.
No.
The guy.
My mom's boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
I never forgave him or my mom for that situation. And I could not be in the same room with him without like screaming at him.
Even though you guys lived together.
Completely ignoring him. Yeah. So I was like a problem at that point. Like my mom would probably be not happier, but like she didn't know what to do with me. I mean, I remember her going into the office and like crying and be like, I don't know what to do with her. And I'm like,
you created this.
I'm like, you created this. I'm also not sympathetic towards my mom whatsoever because I'm like resentful.
Mm-hmm.
Like deep-seated resent at that point. And when she's like crying, I have no remorse for her. Not at all, to be honest. It's really sad and sick, and like I would just like loathe
She
her.
turned her back on you.
Loathe her. And she chose her relationships over her children every time.
Mm-hmm.
Which is still an issue sometimes, but I'm much older now.
Yes, exactly. Well, I mean, this definitely shows how like our environment makes us who we are in a lot of ways. But that's not the person that I know today.
Yeah, and I try never to get like too caught up in like history because I think that it doesn't really matter where you're from or what you've gone through. Like
it's where you're going.
Well, people of all walks of life become addicted to substances.
Yes.
It does not matter.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's like my story and it's, mine alone. But like I've heard people going through much worse things and not picked up a drug or a drink to deal with their problems. What I do think is that we kind of figure out ways, whether healthy or unhealthy, whether that's drugs or not drugs, to deal with things. I think that we're getting better with providing outlets for people to explore healthy solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like going back to like saying like, my parents' generation, like that wasn't something that was done. Like
no, it was not. It was not.
Yeah.
Yep.
Deal with
suck
your
it
problems,
up. Get
don't
over
talk about
it.
things.
Right. Exactly.
Oh yeah.
So I think that we're providing that, but like my story is unique in some ways and not unique, and it doesn't really matter where you come from. I was in treatment with somebody who was a doctor. So, and who knows what she went through, but I know that I'm not a doctor.
Addiction doesn't have a face.
Does not. So anyway, I don't want to ever get caught up or like, maybe somebody will hear my story and relate to it and know that they're not alone. And I think that's what the beauty is about telling stories, is that something will resonate with somebody that they'll be like, oh, I thought I was alone and I've been through that too. And now I can do those things. But also at the same time, somebody might hear my story and think, oh, that's nothing like me, and then use it to separate themselves from it.
That's why we do this. And we have had people contact us and said they've heard somebody's story and it has made a difference.
Yeah.
And that's why we won't stop doing it.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be
yes,
really
we
cool.
will not stop. Don't give me that look. Oh, sorry.
And I think it's going to be really cool hearing a bunch of different stories because I think that they're going to be different.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
But the turning point is at 18, I moved out because my brother I got locked into the bathroom and he was trying to like attack me for something. I don't know. And this is when I'm 18. So my brother's 4 years older than me. So he's an adult. He had come back at some point and I was like, I'm moving out. I'm leaving. I was with a guy who I didn't know at the time had a vicious opiate habit. He was selling weed because the older I got and the more I got immersed in like using marijuana and drinking, my relationships became tailored to that. And I liked this guy, but he conveniently also sold weed, but also had a very vicious opioid habit that I didn't know about. His mom was a nurse who was with a guy that made motorcycle seats like cushioned motorcycle seats. And had used crack for many years, and I was exposed to them, period. So this guy was smoking crack and like cheating, and I think she was kind of tired of it. And not that she was innocent in this situation, but we moved everything up to Delaware one weekend when he was away.
Wow.
And his mom, who was on opiates, then got on Suboxone, and it left her son, who got her scripts to sell, make the family money, a vicious like opioid habit with no pills at that point, just Suboxone. And I was 18 years old, and I was working. He was in LPN school. I got a job at a salon in Newark, Delaware. So I was the only one making money in that relationship, and he was in LPN school, but he had a car and I didn't have a car. I didn't have my license until I was 18. I dropped out of school at this point. Like right around that time, I dropped out of school, moved. Yeah. And he exposed me to opiates. Like I didn't really like them at first. I remember them just being way too powerful for me, and like getting sick immediately, and just, that's not a good feeling. And then I would just kind of use like a little bit because I was paying for them, like tiny bits. And one time we got robbed. He got robbed, like our money got robbed, and we had to get money from my mom to get home. And then he stole his mom's credit card when we got back to Delaware, and we went to Wilmington, and he picked up this woman. And this is crazy to me. This is where I had the aha moment. I remember every detail of that story. Picked up this woman off the side of the streets of Wilmington, Delaware, and she got us heroin. And we went back and we tried it, and I got sick and I passed out and I woke up and I wanted more immediately. And that was like that aha moment. And I never used heroin before. And it's interesting because like I have this strong drive to do the right thing. This relationship was really toxic, as you can imagine.
Seems like it.
If I wouldn't pay for his opiates, he'd make me walk to work. So I'd have to like truck through the snow, take the bus, and
Damn.
And I'm super hyper independent. So like I did, like I was stuck in the situation. I got a car and immediately left the situation. I moved out with whatever could fit my Toyota Camry and back to my mom's house, which also wasn't very healthy, but there I was.
Now you're addicted to heroin.
Interesting, because I think because I was using so little of I was not using much, that I used with him for a year, like on and off, but wasn't physically dependent.
Okay.
So I was able to, I didn't ever experience withdrawal that time, right? But then I was like, I had this idea that I was different from other people, where I used it and I was like not addicted.
Not having the same problems that other people are having.
Yeah. Oh, I use heroin and like opiates, but like I don't really I don't feel any need to like do it or not do it. So I can put it down. I can, pick it up. Doesn't matter to me. And then I met my older son's dad, who had just got out of jail. And he was selling marijuana, naturally, because I was still like, those were my drugs of choice: alcohol, marijuana. I'm like 18, going 19. I date this man for 3 months. He wanted nothing to do with me. I was seeking his attention. I like really liked emotionally unavailable men. I don't know, something about him was really appealing, even though he just got out of jail
and he didn't
for
want
18
you.
months, and he didn't want me, and
Wow.
he sold marijuana, and I intentionally would chase him and like have him hang out with me to roll my blunts just to like try to. And then first night I hung out with him, and he finally like gave me a little attention. I like kissed him, and then he has a history of smoking crack from the age of 14. And he was sober, like just smoking. I say sober very loosely. You can't see my quotations, but he was smoking weed and drinking, but he wasn't doing that. He had just got out of jail. And that night, immediately, like when we started like kissing, he was like, let's go get Coke. And I was exposed to Coke for the first time, and then quickly to crack. And then I was pregnant, and he got arrested again for selling marijuana, was in there for 18 months. And that was the first time I went back to my dad's house. And my dad, like, took care of me while I was pregnant.
Were
And
you using while you were pregnant?
no, not really. So I wasn't with him long. I was with him for like maybe 3 or 4 months before I got pregnant. Um, and so I like had tried like coke that one time, and maybe I did a little bit more. He was already physically abusive, I think, at that point, but I can't remember. We were on and off for so long. And he was locked up, and my dad was like supporting me and paying for my phone calls, and I have a strong drive to do the right thing. So like I didn't use. I wasn't physically dependent on anything. I would come home occasionally, like every once in a while, and I would use like an opiate around my friends that were like
While you were pregnant?
while I was pregnant. So like I wasn't physically dependent, but like I would do it occasionally when I was around it, or like smoke weed. I did smoke weed my first trimester a little bit because I was still, I think, home before I moved down to my dad's for like I said at the time nausea, which it helped a lot. But yeah, other than that, no, I was not physically dependent on anything. And then had my son a week late, healthy, 18 pounds, 8 pounds, 4 ounces. Yeah.
Wow.
And then
How were you emotionally at this time? I mean, you've been through so much. Now you're going through this big change in your life.
Emotionally?
Yeah, because you're going to be a mom.
I wanted to be a mom. So that was a very intentional thing that we both played a part in. Like we knew what we were doing.
What do you mean? You having unprotected sex?
No, like
You were trying to get pregnant?
Yes.
With this person?
With this person. So emotionally, that's just imagine I was trying to have sex or trying to have a baby with a man that just got out of jail. So just think.
And he was in agreement at the time.
Yes, very much in agreement. Like that was a planned.
That was a
pregnancy.
very, gosh, I don't know.
At 18.
Yeah, I was going to say that's very short-sighted, I guess.
Short-sighted, yeah.
In terms of like.
I was infatuated with this man. And he was he was abusive at that point. I was totally infatuated by that relationship and suffered from Stockholm after the fact.
Explain, what is that?
So I didn't know what that was.
Right. I've heard it, but I don't think I could tell somebody what it is.
I remember his mom when I was like 18, 19 years old being like, he was diagnosed narcissistic as a child. And I was like, I don't know what that means.
Right.
Like, what? And, but so he was physically, emotionally abusive to the point where like,
You'd make
it was normal
for him?
No, it was normal for me. So normal that like even now when I'm talking with a group of people that are in recovery and I like bring up a story that like it gets sparked in my brain because they're talking about something and I'm like, oh yeah, he choked me against the wall and I fell out and then he kicked me.
Jesus.
And I say it very like, haha, funny.
Right.
This is what happened. They're like, they look at me and they're like, no, that's not normal. But it was like my reality at the time. And yeah, and
okay,
I mean,
so you have this baby now.
I would leave. So Stockholm is I would leave this man and then I would go back to him.
Okay.
I would leave the man knowing he was not good and there was abuse, but like be so infatuated and like so I'd go back to it.
Okay.
You go back to your abuser is like Stockholm essentially.
Okay.
But I was textbook like dealing with an abusive relationship and I didn't know that until much later. Yeah.
So you had the baby.
So I have the baby. Yeah. And he's still in jail at this point. He gets home when the baby is 8 months old. And my brain at that point, because I'm naive, is that I believe that I'm going to church at this point. I'm like with my friend going to church. He's going to get out. He's going to like do the right thing. He's going to get a job. Like we're going to be a happy family. And he gets out first day, catch him on the phone, like talking to some girl. He starts selling heroin. And yeah, it goes through. There it goes from there. The first day.
Did you start that back up again?
Yeah. So that's how I got back into it after 8 months old. I don't think it took me long. I think I was so emotionally like, I can't believe my world is shattering and like all my hopes and dreams are now ruined.
You know,
I drug him to church drunk like within the first few weeks. because I was like, oh, like you have to meet the pastor that I'm going to. Like I was delusional of like what was going to happen. Do you love this? It's kind of funny.
It's not funny. No, it's sad because the sad part is that you did not have any role models to teach you any differently.
I know.
And
I'm sorry.
that's sad. But anyway, so you have,
I pick up and I start using, and I'm like, I'm just like, you know what, just give me a little bit of it. Because like, I'm like, this will make me feel better for now. And I'm not going to get addicted. Because I have that mindset of like, oh, I can pick it up. I can put it down. I'm not like these other people. And I get highly strung out on heroin, like within the next year or 2 years. And
were you working? Could you work? Did
so
anybody
I
know?
had before, I skipped out this whole part. I had, when I was 18 years old, my friend lost her job and she was pretty addicted to opiates, but again, I didn't know. And I started dancing when I came back with her. When I came back and lived with my mom after that last relationship I left before I met John, or like around the time I met John,
You became a ballet dancer?
I started dancing at the strip club.
Oh.
Did you say a ballet dancer?
She was on Broadway.
But at the time, it was like a fun thing to do because I just loved doing the attention. I loved to do wild things.
Good money.
I wasn't really making that. I was a terrible stripper at first, Rich. I'll tell you that. I didn't really like the men, so I would go and like drink alcohol beforehand and like, you know, I'd dance on the stage a little bit, maybe eat some food there and like make a little bit of money, but I wasn't really doing a lot of lap dances and stuff. I didn't really like it. So I would go sometimes, not go sometimes. She was there though, because that was how she was paying for her bills.
Yeah.
And so I'd pop in occasionally. And then when I got pregnant, I stopped. And then when I came back and I was back in this really abusive relationship with a man who was selling drugs and I had a son, I didn't want to do that. Like, I've always been really good with kids. I always knew I wanted to be a mom. I loved my son so much. Mm-hmm. And as much as the crap I went through, I will say that I think for the most part, I did a really good damn job. I never lost. I'm not going to say the numbers because that doesn't matter. And I don't want to compare myself to somebody who might have gone through those experiences. But I think I did
you held it together.
I held it together as much as I could.
Right.
And sometimes it wasn't that great.
Right.
But
well, there had to be a breaking point because
I started dancing and I was physically dependent at that point. And my son's father was selling drugs so much that I don't know if I ever even told you this. So he started transporting drugs across the line. He got pulled over several times.
And you're living together at this point?
On and off. I'm going back to my mom's. I'm coming back because I have Stockholm. And also I'm physically dependent at this point on opiates and he's my supplier.
Okay.
And he's cheating on me and hitting me and we get a dog at one point. He's abusing the dog. I like let the dog out. I just thought about this the other day because I just got a puppy actually. And just like
let it out just to say run free.
Yeah. I was like, because he was trying to take it away from me and my son. And like, I'm trying to like love this puppy. And I'm like thinking again, like I have this like rose colored glasses on, like, oh, it's going to be perfect. And he's like chaining it up and trying to get it to be mean. And I was like, oh no, like we're going to save this puppy. Like I got to get this puppy out of here. And anyway, he starts transferring drugs back and forth and he gets pulled over a few times. I like make the suggestion that he needs to have somebody like run it for him. He's going over like from Maryland to Philadelphia, so going through Delaware. And there's like a whole like investigation like going on.
That becomes then a federal offense, right?
He was arrested 3 different times before he finally got arrested, and I was
wow.
And it was by the same unit. It was like a Maryland guns task force unit, and they got to know us really well. And he was like paranoid that someone was following him, and we thought that he was again smoking crack. His drug of choice is crack, and he gets really crazy and loses everything very quickly from doing cocaine. And and so the last time I bailed him out, the police tried to stop me while I was going to the bail bondman, and they threatened the bail bondman that that money that they took was drug money, and they have the police on camera saying, like, if you don't revoke his bail, we're going to lock you up. And they're like, she's a stripper. What do you mean? Like, this is her money. And like, so they wanted him so bad that they were willing to go to like any length.
Right.
They didn't want him out. Like, they were so done with his crap. And he was like a menace. He had guns, like unmarked guns. His first charge was with his friends who stole an entire like house full of guns in a truck. And that was like his first like real time as an adult. So like he's not allowed to have guns. Like he's a felon. Like they don't want him there. They don't want him around. And yeah. So what happened? I'm dancing. I don't really have to because he's making a whole lot of money. So I get to like kind of be home under the influence around my son. Like, and I will share when he was still home, I was getting ready for a Christmas party for my family. And this is like one of those moments where I just like my good enough was not enough. And my son at like a year old got a 30. So I used heroin, but he was out and we had to go down to DC area to like go to this Christmas party. So he runs somewhere and gets like these pills. They're like little blue pills. They're opiates.
Right.
They're 30s. And my son gets a 30 and eats it. And I starts crying. And I turn around like I'm in the same room. He just reached up on the table and got it as a normal toddler 1-year-old does. And I turn around and I see it like spitting out of his mouth, and I like throw my finger back there. My son's father runs in and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "He's 8 at 30." And he's like, "Just wait, just see what he does." And my son like starts like bouncing off the walls and he's like happy. And then he starts like, my son's father's like, "Let's go get him something to eat, give him something in his stomach." And so we go to like the local, I don't know, fast food place, and we try to give him something to eat, and he starts throwing up. So then he's like, starts yelling at me. He's like, "Get him to the hospital now." I'm thinking I'm going to lose my kid, as I should have at that point. And the thing is about me is that I look innocent and I talk my way out of everything. I talk my way out of every situation that we ever had with the police that he was in trouble. I talked my way out of my son eating a 30 milligram opiate at 1 year old. And they
believed you? What did you say?
They said, this happens all the time.
What?
Kids get into things all the time.
They pump his stomach?
No. So they bring him in. I tell him that he ate a prescription of Percocet 5s because my son's father had just had like some kind of surgery that he had gotten Percocet 5s. So I was like, I was quick on my feet. I'm really smart. I'm not smart. Like, we are smart people. So I tell them this, and they're more worried about the Tylenol than they are the opiate. And they're like, we're just going to monitor him for 4 hours. And he starts like going in and out. And they're like, okay, we're going to give him Narcan. This is before Narcan's like readily available. Right?
At 1 year old.
At 1 year old. So this is probably back in 2012. So like probably like a year before I get sober, like a 2011, 2012 probably. They give him, they're like, it won't bother him because, and I don't even know what Narcan is at this time because it wasn't on the streets. And they're like, yeah, we're going to give him this. It's not going to bother him. They give it to him. He's pissed. He's pissed because it immediately takes the opiate off of your receptor.
The baby's pissed.
So my son was mad.
Wow.
He's in withdrawal. He didn't participate in withdrawal. Or just, I'm sure it doesn't feel comfortable. I don't know. He wasn't actively using. So
right. He didn't know what was happening.
But yeah, I mean, I never had DSS come out. Never had any like welfare check. Nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. I talked my way out of that. That is crazy to me when I think about it now.
Was that a reality check for you?
No. I mean, that was scary for me. Don't get me wrong. And I think I thought about it and I was like, oh man, but I didn't stop doing what I was doing. I mean, I couldn't stop what I was doing.
If they would have came out, it probably would have been a different story though.
Probably. I would hope.
Yeah.
I mean, they did come out again. There was none other time. So when I would go to work, if I went to work at the strip club, my son's father would have them, or my son's father's mom. And he was selling drugs with him in his hands, apparently, like having people. He would in the middle of Rising Sun start trapping like middle income family neighborhood, like having cars in and out, and they already knew him. He's been arrested multiple times for selling drugs in that neighborhood.
Wow.
He would not care. He had my son right on his hip, and they came out and they're like, this is what you, again, they look at me. I don't know what I look like at this point, but I'm sure I don't look healthy.
Right.
And they look at me and they go, you can't let him have him by himself. You can have him, but you can't leave him with your son's father. And they make me sign this like agreement, and they never once think, let's check her.
Because they were trying to get him so bad that they just were trying to keep the situation under control.
Because they wanted to arrest his dad so bad that they put the welfare of the child, and I don't know. I mean, maybe. Who knows?
I mean, I don't know. We're just speculating at this point. I'm just.
So let me start getting into like him going away and then actually like me getting sober. So how they finally like get him. I put my car in. He doesn't have a car. He doesn't have a license. I don't get my license until I was 18. I got it in Delaware and I lived there. I didn't have a GED at the time. That's relevant later once I get sober. Yeah, so I put my car into a mechanic. My dad's like, what is taking so long to get your oil changed? I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm high, so I'm not paying attention. We got a house at this point. We're living off Route 1. We're not living with his mom anymore. Somebody had just tried to kick down his door in the middle of the night when I had just got home from work. And I threatened to call the police while these people were like trying to kick down the door, trying to get in to like steal drugs and money, and I'm terrified. And I call the police, and I remember, so anyway, I call the police that night and they like patronize me. But they go away, thank goodness. They didn't break into the door, but they were literally one kick away from getting into that house, and I don't know what they would have done to me, my son, or him. And we moved back into his mom's house, but my car's in the shop. And I didn't know this then, but they're putting a GPS in my car to follow us. And we're in and out of hotels when if I want to see him, he's in a hotel selling drugs. So if I want to see him, I'm in a hotel, essentially. And I pick him up one night. I have my son in the car. They pull us over. They had a warrant for his mom's house, the hotel room, and my car. And they like simultaneously kicked down all the doors because they were pulling him over here and there, but they couldn't get any of it. And they still didn't get any of the stuff because he was really good at hiding things. I don't want to like praise him in any way because he was terrible and not a really great person, but he was really good at hiding things. He had everything upstairs in his mom's house and she didn't know where it was. She was older. She was like she was passed away now. She was like in her 80s. And yeah, but they found enough. They found some drugs in the hotel room, a gun. They have my mom get my son. They bring me down for questioning. They're like, why were you in a field at like 4 a.m.? They like had this GPS in my car. And I'm like, I don't know. Like he probably had it in there. I'm not going to go into that story. But anyway, and then he was involved. So he was state, but he was transferred to feds. And I'm just going to say this since this is anonymous. I got him to agree to like cooperate. I was like, if you don't do this, you're never gonna see your son again. And so he cooperates and gets taken out of jail and comes and sees me out of custody. That's like one of his like requests. And then another time I had to meet federal agents in Delaware because he wanted to see us again before he gets strapped up and then like taken to the mall, actually, the Christiana Mall. And he was part of that, and I get to see him like, and then I'm left alone. After that, he's back in jail, and
he's not coming out.
Yeah, he's not coming out he's in the federal prison system for 5 years at least
at that time.
Yeah, so he got transferred like from South Carolina to Florida to PA back around. They don't keep him still in federal prison.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't keep him still there. He was like got bounced around all over the place.
Why is that?
Probably.
I think a lot of it's got to, I don't know if it's true or not. I was talking, maybe it's somebody we talked to, but they have drugs are, it's very easy to get drugs in prison.
Oh, okay.
So that may be why, because if you don't have,
Maybe.
yeah, if you're being moved around, you can't keep the same
Right. You can't. Right.
contacts the
Gotcha.
whole time.
Okay, that makes sense. Or even
Yeah.
a safety issue. They don't
Could be
want.
that too, yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about your recovery.
Yes. So I keep using for a year and just being terrible. But so what happened and how I got sober was I had no plans of getting sober. I had a way and means of like paying for drugs, like, and I wasn't trying to get sober, didn't plan on getting sober. Which is like a whole nother thing that I would love to dive deeper into. My story's too long. My mom kept calling the cops on me like the last few after he got arrested. It was put in the papers. So my mom knew I was using something, but she didn't know what it was.
Right.
And when he was put in the papers for his arrest, it said heroin.
Right.
Big. And so she was like, oh, she's doing heroin. And drugs and alcohol were like nothing new to my family, but like heroin, that's
That
like
seemed bad.
That's
Yeah.
different.
that's bad.
Right.
Like we used cocaine in the 80s, like that's not
Right.
heroin.
Right.
And so my mom was like trying to get me treatment. I went to Suboxone doctor like right when he got arrested. And my parents, I had great insurance. My dad was in the elevator union. They drove me up to, at this time, there was like only two options for where I was in Cecil County. There was Baltimore or PA somewhere, an hour in PA. So we drive up to PA because my dad's like, I'm not taking her to Baltimore. He had already taken some of my cousins down to Baltimore to get Suboxone back in the day because my family is rapid with drug use. And he was like, I'm not doing that. Not my daughter.
Yeah.
I get in there, I get my first script, I tell them I'm using, and then I like bulk on the idea of treatment and was like, this is what I'll do. And the second time I went, I had to do a screening and I couldn't pee. And I tried to get my son to pee from a diaper into a cup. And then they called me and they're like, I finally just peed in the cup and they're like, sorry, you can't come back, which was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Right.
I got kicked out of the program and then I continued to use for a year. And then my mom kept calling the cops on me just like, because we get in a fight and then not like physically, sometimes physically, I guess. And finally I was like, if you don't leave me alone, I'm going to kill myself. And the cop that arrested me that time for disorderly brought me to the station, released me on my own recognizance, and told my mom that she could take that text message and get an emergency petition against my will, which is not easy to do.
Wow.
Like a lot of families, I am super resistant on telling families this because to do that is really hard to do. And then for someone to keep you after you're in the ED and you're not actually actively suicidal is like impossible.
Right.
So this is like a dang miracle that this happened this way.
Right. Yes. They don't keep you.
Yeah, I wasn't actively suicidal. It was a threat. There was no active plan. It was just to try to get my parents off my back. And I get in that ED and that nurse is like, well, you have opiates in your system. So you can either sign yourself in or I'm going to check you in. It's a holiday weekend. I suggest you sign yourself in. So I signed myself in. And I'm like, I'm going to talk my way out of this. I thought I was going to talk my way out of it when the police picked me up from my room that morning, but I realized there were drugs around me. So I was like, this isn't a good time. I grabbed my purse with my Suboxone in it because I was buying Suboxone off the street just in case I needed it. But every day it was like a Groundhog Day where I was like, I'm going to take it today and then I'm not going to take it. I'm just going to use, I'll take it tomorrow. And it was like that for a year after I got kicked out of the Suboxone program. And I get signed into that psych ward and they were like looking for treatment. I had great insurance. It was between Brandywine, which is in like PA, or Ashley. I don't know anything about treatment. I was like, oh, this place looks nice. I want to go there. And I go to Ashley. I go to Ashley from there, and I don't want to get sober. I try to break into the locked closet of the psych ward with my wire from my bra to get my Suboxone because it was like a non-therapy. Well, I think they call it therapeutic withdrawal, which is like Tylenol. And bensel for your stomach. So like I was like,
they don't even let you have your bra with a wire in it anymore, I don't think.
I don't think it was supposed to get past security, but like I literally ripped out my wire of my bra and I was watching the Globe and there was like the nursing station and I'm like trying to pick this lock, but it was like a double lock and I couldn't get in because I was trying to get my Suboxone so bad. I was just in full blown withdrawal. And like there, I remember like trying to get something for my, for my withdrawal symptoms to feel comfortable. And I like got some sleep medication that was heavily over over prescribed, but it was me, not anybody else. And that was my experience there. And then finally on the third day I was like using straight opiates. This was back in like 2013, so like fentanyl was just hitting the streets. I remember, I'll tell you later when I get sober, but yeah. So
where's the child at this point?
my mom has them.
Okay.
So my mom is in agreement of like having my son during this. And so basically in that psych ward, I was the first person to get a family peer, like a peer that came in from the health department at the time, actually. This is like when peers were hot. Like just coming, well, not even hot. They were just like hitting the health departments. Yeah. And they like came in and they're like, do you care? They're like, we're trying to get you out of here. Do you care if, we talk to you and your parents? And I'm like, no, like, that's great. Like, get me out of here. Thinking I'm going to get myself out of here. And then they come in and they're like, hey, like, we recommend like you go to treatment. And my mom's like, treatment or custody of your kid? And I'm like, well, I'm sober enough to know that's not going to work for me. So I'm going to go to treatment. And I agree to go to treatment. And I spend 30 days there. And I mean, I'll just say it out loud. If you've ever been to Ashley, it's freaking nice. I don't like to like name drop facilities, but I had really good insurance and I went to this facility and it was 12-step at the time with some spiritual components. And every time I had anytime I remove substances from my life, I like immediately am drawn to God. I'm super spiritual naturally. And so that component there was really good for me. And I was like talking to boys and I turned 23 in treatment and I just like, it was nice there and I was okay with it. And I don't know if I want to get sober, but there was a girl that spoke. She shared her story and I was like, oh wow, like maybe I'd like to get sober. Maybe there's like a thought there, like a seed planted right there. And then my insurance tried to cut out and like 2 weeks in and they were like, oh, medically she's like good to go. She can go home. And Ashley was like, no.
Wow.
She can't go home. So they negotiated with my insurance company. They scholarshiped my bed and my insurance company agreed to pay for my medical part of the treatment for the rest of the 2 weeks. And then the only recommendation they made for me was one one halfway house in Bel Air at the time. And it was Homecoming Projects. At that time, there wasn't really anything else.
No.
There was like
there was stuff that wasn't good.
There was other places, other houses, other places, but there was MRP actually.
Oh, okay.
But they weren't strict. I think they intentionally wanted me to go to the strictest place there was, and so they gave me Homecoming. And I went in an interview, and I don't know if I wanted to go to a halfway house, but I was like, I started to be honest, like a little bit honest enough that it got me to the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, yeah, if I go home, like I could probably stay sober for a day or, maybe a month, maybe a year, but like eventually I'll probably use again if I go home. So I'm like willing to try this. And they accepted me. And I was entitled. I think I was entitled because of my experiences I was my dad's only child. I was dancing and I was getting things handed to me. I didn't really like have, when it comes to like that stuff, like when it comes to like using and like withdrawal, like I had it pretty easy.
It was easy for you to get what you wanted and what you needed.
Yeah.
Your whole life.
My whole life. Like I was kind of given that. So I was really entitled and they were like, don't even come to this office and talk to us. And that is exactly like, so I think that any place that really specializes their treatment per person is really important because what worked for me, like I know for a fact there's a girl in there that I went through the house with that if she was ignored by the people, like she would have left.
Yeah.
But like for me, that worked really well. Like I institutionalize really well. I want to do the right thing. I want to be the best at whatever I do. So like them not getting me the attention that I wanted, I was like, excuse me? And like, oh, I'll show you. I ended up being the senior resident for like the majority of the time. I wasn't doing everything right, but like I was doing that house for what they saw was right. And I just took basic suggestions. I got a sponsor. They did 12 steps as well. I got a sponsor, got a home group. My home group was based on the guy that I liked that I worked with at Boston Market at the time. But whatever keeps you there. And yeah, I just was doing the thing. My mom had my son, and then like I guess 6 months in, she started getting like really squirrely. So she started like calling my work and showing up to the house like outside of visiting hours, and I thought that she was going to try to fight me for custody. And so this was like my first like I guess turbulence in my recovery. My mom's not really always well. Like my mom's she does the best that she can, but in that situation, like very early on, people were like, that dynamic isn't right.
Mm-hmm.
My mom also left her ex at some point when I was using and dancing and stuff and drove me to the strip club. This is how I got back into stripping, is because she left this guy because he cheated on her and she couldn't pay her rent. And my mom started driving me up there so I could pay her rent, so I could live with her. So like our dynamic is really
toxic.
Mm-hmm. And like sometimes if I'm not doing well, she's there for me. But if I'm doing too good, it's not good either, because then I'm not like fitting into this mold that she needs me to. So at some point when I was at homecoming, it wasn't good. And one night, I was maybe 9 months sober. She was like calling my work, and I was like, if I don't go get my son tonight, I'm leaving. And when the program manager at the time was like, we'll go get him. She's like, just go in, get him. I had custody of him, never lost custody of him. So like, go in, get him in the car. Don't fight. Don't take anything. Just real quick, get him. And I was leaving. My mom was like, well, when are you going to bring him back? I have court on Monday. This was like a Friday or Saturday.
For what? Custody?
For custody on literally the next business day.
Wow.
And you didn't know she was going to do that.
She was getting everything sent to her house because that was my last known address. And my son's father was in jail, so I would have lost custody at that point. And I don't know if I would have ever gotten it back. My mom is just tenacious. She's...
Damn.
So, yeah, I don't know. And I was mad, naturally. So my son lived... This doesn't really happen at homecoming. My son lived with me for like a month or two while I was there. They went and got him clothes. They went and got him us like food. Uh-huh. I like used my savings that I had saved up there to like pay for daycare while I was at work. And then like they transitioned me out early. So no one ever really gets out of homecoming before a year. I got out at, I think I was 10 months in, 11 months sober. So I was before a year I got out of there. And that's a long halfway house stunt.
Yes,
but like
it
was so needed for me.
Yeah.
So needed for me. Like in comparison to some places, like that is...
At that time, I think we're finding now that it's more beneficial to the individual if they do stick it out long.
Yeah, it is so much beneficial. Like so more beneficial to the person, because
you need...
Even that time, I still like I had all the concepts, but I did not know how to put it into practice. So I get out of that house. I'm 23 years old, maybe I was turning 24, I guess. So I have like 11 months sober. I've, been in a halfway house, been in a routine for an entire almost year. And I'm like, everything they said, I don't need really any of it. I don't really have to go to meetings that much. I don't have to really, I'm with this guy that I was talking to while I was there. I partner up with this guy that was also in a halfway house. He's been in and out of treatment.
Do I know who this is?
No, you probably don't actually, because he went through another house in the area that's similar to that program. And this wasn't his first rodeo, and he naturally was abusive. Kind of. Not as bad as John. He was abusive, should I say. I shouldn't justify it, but he wasn't as bad as previous partners.
Right.
He immediately was like, you don't have to tell your sponsor that. You don't have to do this. And I was like, oh, I don't. He was like, if we got in a fight, he was like, you don't have to tell your sponsor that. And I was like, kind of believed it. I'm like, naive for some reason. Like, I just believe this man. And he started drinking really early on. Like, he left his commitment. He was a house manager. He left his commitment early, moved in with me, and like started drinking like 3 months in. And I stayed sober through that first like tumultuous situation. Um, I left my house. He lived in my house that I got from homecoming. I called my landlord and I was like, hey, because she knew he like lived with me, and I was like, hey, like this guy is drinking. She like knew my whole story and knew the situation, and she helped me like get him out of there. And then I went back, and then I, you know, got back into another relationship, and was with that guy for a while. But he wasn't abusive, but he was just, I was told by the founder of Homecoming that I shouldn't date for 7 years, and I wish I would have listened to her because
For 7 years?
yeah, because I had so much stuff that I didn't work on. And I don't think this is for everybody, but like, it's funny looking back, and I might have prolonged the situation by dating people. But like, at 7 years, I finally had like gotten rid of like a lot of the stuff that I was bringing into those relationships too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wasn't honest in any of my relationships because as a single mom, 10 months sober with no GED, working part-time while I had my son during the day because he wasn't in school, I hit up guys that, well, one particular guy that I had prostituted myself with in Philadelphia, who is in like finance or something, has a family and kids. And I continued to prostitute myself sober up until 7 years.
Wow.
5 years into my sobriety, because I couldn't make it. I couldn't make ends meet.
Well, that was your learned behavior.
Yeah.
That
Sorry.
was.
And it makes me
It's
emotional.
okay. And it is emotional. It makes me emotional for you.
You know that though.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And that, you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
It's in the past. It's a part of your story, but that's not who you are today.
Yeah, and I know that. And I've worked a lot through it. But how it came out is like, I was in a relationship with my younger son's father. And like, I wanted so badly for that like relationship to be good. And I worked really hard. Like, I worked 2 jobs most of the time. I try to like, when I was like, okay, I would try to like not reach out to that guy. I had blocked him at times, and he would call me from his office phone. And I was scared, and I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my counselor that I met with for like, I still meet with her. I met with her starting like really early on after I got at homecoming, after I got my stuff together. And I realized that all the things that homecoming said were really important. And I started to really take my sobriety serious. And
because going back felt worse than staying there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, after I got out of that first relationship, like with the guy that I talked to when I was in the halfway house, I got really miserable. And I talk about this as like bedevilments in the big books. They talk about feeling of loneliness, not having a purpose, and they're talking about like alcoholism. But like, I wasn't actively using, I wasn't actively drinking, I wasn't really sober though either. I was dry, and I was like suffering from like my ailments. And I started to just take like sobriety really serious, but I still had all these other things that like aren't really addressed in AA. Like abusive relationships and like prostitution and like selling drugs for fast money for men. Like, a lot of times is like a thing. Like, there's so many more things that like we pick up throughout life, not even like as people that use substances, but just in general, like bad habits that, yeah. So I got into this relationship with a guy that I really, really loved and really, really like liked. And he was like 3 years sober. He had spent like his whole life like in and out of treatment, and finally felt like he was in a really good place, separate from a relationship for a long time. And I was doing this, and he found it on my phone. He found it on my phone, and it crushed his world, and it shook me, and I had to, for the first time, address
What
like
you
what
were
was going
doing.
on and what it was doing, and it was very interesting time for me because I was really worried about him, but also at the same time, I've never felt like I got baptized. Like right before that, I was like really trying to like get to a point where like I wasn't doing that. I was like actively trying to work on it by myself, and that's the biggest mistake I ever made, is that I kept it a secret.
Mm-hmm.
Like anything that you keep a secret in your sobriety, it will eat you alive. It will probably, like, I'm lucky that some of the things that I've done in my sobriety haven't taken me back out, but I have had to, like, I always say, you can save your ass or you can save your face. And I tried to save my ass a lot of times by not being honest about, like, for example, my prostitution and my sobriety. And then I had to, like, or I try to save my face, I guess, is what I'm saying. I try to save my face and then just have been like completely crushed. And I've shared about this in meetings, and I'm so honest in meetings. It's funny because like I'll like go through it, like have all these like situations unfold and like really work through it. And I'll go into meetings and like, I mean, it's sad and like humbling and vulnerable. And I'll be crying in meetings about things that I've worked through. And people are like, well, get well soon. And I'm like, fair, but I've like worked through that. That's why I'm sharing
Yeah, but
it now.
it's always gonna be a part of you. It's always gonna be a part of you, just like grief or anything else where you're just going through your life and you think
And I
that
also
you've got a
think that-
handle on it, and then it just blindsides you.
And I also think that it's to speak to like honesty in meetings, that like it's so important to be honest and vulnerable. And like sometimes that like puts you in a vulnerable situation where you
Right,
can
which
be
shows
hurt.
your emotion.
But like if you really want to like help people, like I really want to help people. And if I went through something like that, I want to share it for the world.
Well, I get
And if that's like ammo for you to like use at me, then like fair enough.
Well,
do
and I
it.
don't know if it's ammo because I've had, I post stuff, on anniversaries of like my daughter's death or certain things that come, and then people will write like, hugs, sweetie, or thinking of you. And I'm just like, that's not the point. I'm not, don't take me wrong, because I do appreciate it. It's very sweet and they can keep doing that. That's fine. I'm sharing for a greater purpose. And yes, it is emotional. It is my heart, and it's never going to go away. But I don't need you to have pity on me. I don't need you to feel sorry for me. I don't need you to do any of that. I'm doing what I'm doing for the people who are going through it like I went through it.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
A lot of
And
people
maybe
don't
they don't
understand
even mean
that.
I don't think they mean that, but I think
I get what you're saying though. You're just like, I'm
Well-
strong. I don't need that.
well, I think that when I share it and people say like get well soon, like they're like thinking like I'm currently actively going through it and I'm talking about it, and I'm like, no, like that's a past experience. I'm just like being raw and honest.
Right.
And like you don't always get that, unfortunately. You don't always get that from people.
Right.
And I wish that more people did that, because I think that as a society we would get better if people were more vulnerable and more straightforward. But it's hard.
And I like
And
that
also-
we really like dived into your addiction story, and not liked it because it was awful, and I'm so sorry that
No,
was
you're
your
fine.
road. I am, because I know that the woman that you are today, and you are strong, and you are beautiful, and you are one of the best people that I know. Like honestly, she is smart as fuck. She is. I cussed, but no, she is. Her mind and her brain is just like, I'm like, slow down, because no, you want her on your side and you want her on your team. And honestly, like, we can go on and on about all of this because this has been long.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And but no, and you came to the other side, and I know every day, like you said, you don't know what could trigger, or God forbid, but you told me one time that relapse has not been a part of your story, and I remember the day you told me that, and I know that you're strong enough. And so, I'm gonna just
for now.
yeah, and exactly
I
for
was like,
today,
for now.
for today.
And it's also, I say that too, because I used to get really uncomfortable about that because it has been part of so many people's story.
I know.
But like,
I know.
it is possible. Since this time being sober, I've never had a relapse. I've never had a relapse since my first introduction to like treatment and rehab, treatment and AA meetings, and like that is possible if that is something that
And it happens. People
it's
are
possible
doing
for
it
somebody.
right now.
But if you don't too, I know that I've worked with so many people that like have so many feelings about coming back because they're scared. And like also like no one is judging you.
Right.
So
Worst thing to do is not come back.
yeah. And I also like I speak to like being honest and being authentic too, is like because I try to keep those things so separate that like I was living a double life.
Yeah.
And that was something I had to really, really work on in my counseling.
Right.
Is that like I am the same person. I'm not bad because I did that. I'm not good because I do all these things. Like I am multi-layered and like I am good, bad, indifferent, and like
you're learning. You're surviving, just like all
I'm
of
human.
us. Yeah, you're human.
And you're helping other people.
Yeah.
Yes, and this story will definitely help
You
someone.
said
I'm
you've
sure.
always wanted to help, and you are. Sometimes you have to.
Yeah,
no, you
she's
really are.
She's a good egg.
Sometimes you have to go through those troubles, problems yourself.
I've always helped people like throughout my life. I like never really like. I was talking to my son was gonna like my son got picked on I guess a little bit in middle school and he's like scared to try out. And my
try out for what? I'm sorry.
Soccer.
Okay.
And my boyfriend's mom was like, "Oh yeah, I bullied people," and I was like, "I've never been like that. I used to get in fights with people because they were bullying people. I've always just like really cared about people. Just want to do
well because you were not treated correctly, so you didn't want to see anyone else not be treated the way they should be.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I'm sorry. This is forever long.
That's okay.
You're fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, not everybody is anonymous, but sometimes we need to be so we can share our story confidently without judgment. And we thank you today for doing that. And if you know someone, don't judge. They're trying their best and they can come to the other side of it. And thank you.
Wendy, I understand that Rage Against Addiction is doing something very important, a monthly donor program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. We are hoping to get our supporters to join us in providing a monthly donation. It can be $5 or it can be more. Whatever you can afford really allows us to help plan and increase our fundraising efforts.
Well, why should people become a monthly donor? What are they doing to help?
Their monthly contributions let us plan for long-term projects and respond quickly when urgent needs arise. And I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
We had the need for a new mattress.
Right.
And we've also had urgent needs for refrigerators and washing machines and all of that kind of stuff that comes up. So they tend to need to be replaced, and our women deserve to have the things that they need.
So with the monthly donor program, technically anybody can do it for any amount, and because Rage Against Addiction always needs something. And yeah. I've known you for years now, and there's times you've told me you guys needed furniture, you need clothes, and also you're not getting the grants that you used to or the contributions that you used to. So this monthly donor program would definitely help a lot.
Yes.
So if somebody becomes a monthly donor, is there anything that they're getting in return? Besides, of course, helping those that need it. I know you guys have an excellent newsletter. Would they automatically be subscribed to that?
We'll subscribe you to our newsletter so you'll know what's going on. You can kind of track our progress, hear success stories, know the data and like how many women we serve each year, and just be a part of something bigger.
So with this too, I guess they're also going to be, because of the newsletter, they're going to be one of the first ones to find out about events coming up like the Memory Walk and Run, the Basket Bingo, and any other future events that you're doing, the podcast that you do.
Yes.
So they're going to be tied in right away.
Yes.
All right. So how can they become a monthly donor?
You can go to our website, and that is rageagainstaddiction.org, and go to our donate button. And on there, you will have the option to become a monthly donor, and you can put in any amount that you want. Your commitment, big or small, empowers our mission and changes lives every single day. Visit us at rageagainstaddiction.org to become a reoccurring donor and join us in making a lasting impact. Thank you for your compassion, generosity, and belief in a brighter future. Together, we can make a difference. Join us today.